For the main game itself, what I wanted to do is I wanted to create just a simple, dark, dingy street. Along this street, there are certain points that will be interactable, and by interactable, I mean the character will walk down the street and stop and look at these certain points and explain something about the world that he's in. So something about the locals. Now this isn't based on fact. This is all just stuff I've made up based off of my ideas. So if we play the game, you'll hear my cheesy voice coming over.
London,
But from the start,
Whitechapel.
the player is just
Here it seems
being
some
told a
scenes. I've
short
seen some
story.
scenes. These here murders have
The
left
character's
legends on edge.
internal
Now,
monologue,
I'm
as
on
it were,
3 weeks
as to
now
what's
since
going
I
on.
break from the same streets.
This is one of the interactable
Right
points.
around Lord knows.
So this is, again, I made the voices for that as well. It's just meant to be two people
Lord knows
arguing.
what we're searching for, mind. Keep it down,
And the
you two.
player is listening to the guard just
Whole
talk
force is tired
about
chasing this wee ripper around. Not
the
a
local
sniff of
people
evidence
and how
left
tight he
behind.
is in this
Only
instance.
pieces for us to pick up.
And we've got another interactable point coming up just over
Enough
here.
to make a grown man faint it.
This is in regards to
old
the
apple.
pub.
Horrible
It's
place.
on the
Enough
right-hand
crime and
side.
villainy to fill Brixton prison over and over. Well, what can we
Again,
do? Was the first place we raided after these here murders started.
this is
Ain't
all
no one
just
talking. No one grousing,
scripted
but the look in their eyes
wording.
told the story. They had nothing to do with it.
not
Ain't no
based off
clue
of any
what was killing
fact,
the women.
completely made
And
up.
if they did, they'd be judged, jury and executioner all in one.
Then it
But
interpolates
still,
back.
keep my eye on that place. Make sure none of the rabble step out of line.
We
At
carry on
least
walking
when I'm
down the
around.
path.
Not sure if it's respect or ignorance towards me, but as long
Let's just pause it there a second. Now these interactable points, the way they are happening is we've got the player move script. Now this is where everything, the whole story, the player movement, the character moving on its own is told. I've set up various different transforms and quaternions and vector freeze and audio clips and speeds, etc. All of these things are used to tell the story. So at the start we depict exactly what we need, and then we start the story and we start the audio. These coroutines will run through and tell basically this is the non-player movement story. So this will control that character that we saw just then. Yield return, wait for seconds, will take the number that's put into the side there and wait for that amount of seconds to do whatever follows it. Now I used a simple true or false. I felt it was a better way for me to control what was going on. I just do everything in update. That way, if I need to call something twice, I don't have to rewrite code. It's just a case of boom, do it. And what it's doing is at each point, it's going through and it's telling the story of what's going on at each point. The transformed opposition, stopped position, and rotation, stopped rotation. Basically, the reason I'm doing that is when the character, stops to look at one of the scene points that I've dictated, I need to have a point so that it can return to where it was. This is again called up here in update. So we're just using quaternion rotations just to look to and from certain points. The timing was one of the biggest issues I had on this because I have to take into account how long it takes the character to walk to each one of the points and also how long it takes for the script to be read out or heard, as it were. So I've had to play around with a few of the timings. I hope it's still okay. There's still certain points that I think it could be probably closer, but
the working girls.
it is what it is now. Each one of these lanterns is just something that I mocked together up in 3ds Max. I've got a very simple plant down the bottom, and in the background we can see a church.
One day you'll slip up.
Now this is the final point.
How many will suffer before?
As the story's told, it breaks with a gunshot, and this is where it becomes interactable by the player. Now what I've got invisible barriers, so they can't go past certain points. So it's kind of like, okay, where do we go from here? Now this is the obvious direction. I've got a slight little noise, so they're sort of drawn to go that way. They can go back, they can look around wherever they wish to look around if they want. It's completely up to them. Just a little corner here. That's the bar, as you can still hear it. So if we go down this street, when the player right clicks, it gets rid of the cursor. That's just a simple cursor visible equals false. And we go down this alley. And then there's bloodstains just over here. Crudely drawn, I must admit, but still bloodstains that I just threw together on Photoshop. Here's a little one just here, and then we're coming forward. And then there's an interactable sound. So as the player walks through an invisible point here, it will set a dog sound off. And we see some fallen boxes. Now I'm hoping this is just sort of going to draw the player to this direction. Then up there we've got just a handprint. Now I've left this part empty. In future releases I'd like to add something here, be it... what I was thinking is maybe the enemy is actually in that corner. And as the player's walking through, if you don't look that way, the enemy will creep up on you. But you're just drawn down this alley, keep going, and then that's the end. And it's just a very crude, simple ending, just showing the letter that I did before, and a simple go back to main menu, play again, etc, etc. So yeah, that's the game. Just a few more bits of code. Just for level loads, it's simply, I put this onto a game system empty game object, and when something happens, so when you click on the start menu, for instance, it will go onto the game system, it will go into this code, and it will send the integer value of the level that it's needed to be loaded. This is the trigger dog sound. Literally, as you walk through the collider, it will check to make sure you're a player. If you're a player, it will activate the dog moment, so it will play the sound. That's it. For the end game, what I wanted to do was just have it so that blackness would come up and then the gunfire. I might change it around so the gunshot should play first. That's something that I'll probably look into doing. And then there's the view, which is this is how the actual camera that's on the player is moved around. Just takes in the rotation Y, so the mouse button rotation, so basically where the mouse is looking. I've got it so that it will only work on right click, because that's how I prefer my movements, but it's something that I will probably add in as an option at a later date. Okay, well, thank you for watching.